conversation with Patricia Morgan. Patricia is running for Senate. Welcome.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you.
It's actually
welcome back,
the United States Senate, not the Rhode Island Senate.
That's right. I should clarify that. Yes.
Against Sheldon Whitehouse.
Yes, and it's okay if I call you Patricia?
Yes, it
and
is.
You've been here before.
I have been many times.
Yeah, I should have said welcome back. All right. I'd like to start with the tweet heard around the internet, around the world,
mob,
right?
The internet mob. Yes.
Okay. I had a black friend. I liked her, and I think she liked me too. But now she's hostile and unpleasant. I am sure I didn't do anything to her except be white. Is that what teachers and our political leaders really want for our society? Divide us because of our skin color. And then you added the hashtag CRT, which is critical race theory. Mm-hmm. So if you had to do this over again, would you have sent out this tweet?
I might have phrased it differently. Nobody gave me a dictionary. I mean, I guess there's a lexicon of what you can and cannot say with the progressive left. But what I meant was, I don't choose my friends by their skin color. And I don't want America to start being a country where we do, where we judge people by what color they are first, what race they are, instead of by whether they are smart and funny and principled and honest, those things that I think are their character. I think when we go into schools and we find teachers and materials that are making children, young children, kind of look at each other as, oh, you're black, I'm the oppressor, you're the oppressed, or you're different from me because of your skin color. I don't want that kind of world. And yes, I have many friends of many colors, mm-hmm. right, of many races, and I choose them because I like them. Because I like who they are as people, because of their innate qualities and their personalities. I don't like them because of the color they are.
So did you have the opportunity to ask your friend, what may have ruptured in your relationship? What evidence was there that maybe you had done something wrong? So what brought you to this, I guess, this tweet and this feeling regarding your friend as well?
Yeah, she had become pretty radicalized. The neighborhood she lived in, the people she hung out with, they bought into the racial division of CRT. And she just dramatically changed.
And so what do you mean radicalized?
She wanted to believe that skin color made all the difference. Mm-hmm. I don't think it does. Again, I have all kinds of friends, and I choose them based upon a lot of different qualities. Honesty, whether they're funny, whether they are hardworking, just, what kind of conversation they bring, that kind of stuff. Yeah, caring, those kinds of things. I don't look at their skin color first.
Yeah. Did you ever have the opportunity to talk to her, reach out to her?
I talked with her many times.
About this?
Not about the tweet.
About her. No. Is she aware of the tweet?
I'm sure she was, but she didn't know that she was the one that I was talking about.
Okay. But did you have the opportunity to maybe repair the relationship or talk to her about, what you
She knows that I am against critical race theory in schools. Mm-hmm. I'm against it. Mm-hmm. I think this is not how we want to organize our society, where we say we have the oppressed and the oppressor. We have the good people and the bad people, and it's all based upon a person's race. I'm totally against that. When I look at this idea that we have to have black teachers go to one room and white teachers go to another room, that is just foreign.
Is that happening in schools now?
It is.
In Rhode Island?
It is.
In which school districts?
Providence.
Okay, so where's critical race theory being taught now in Rhode Island?
Do you understand? Critical race theory is not a subject. It's not like math or reading or science. It is.
Well, yeah, let's tell the viewers what it is. So, for any viewers who are not clear on that, we'll have Patricia explain that.
Yeah,
okay.
it's woven into the curriculum, into the books that are chosen. You know, we used to have. You know, a set of anthologies, right, where we'd read all these short stories, and they talked about different human conditions. Those were all thrown away, and now they've been replaced with kind of paperbacks, and the paperbacks highlight racial division, racial grievance, rather than that we're all human beings and we all face different things in our lives. And so from that, then you get, yeah, where there are black affinity groups and white affinity groups. And white children are being made to feel that they are responsible for slavery or the Jim Crow era. How does a 10-year-old in Warwick have anything to do with what happened in the 1940s?
And so what would your friend or someone teaching critical race theory answer that? What answer would they have for you for that question?
They would say our society is built upon that, and I just don't believe it. Mm-hmm. You know, I grew up during that period of time. And I think we are not a racist country. I think we're becoming more racist because of CRT than less racist, where we actually now are starting to focus on a person's skin color rather than the other qualities that they have. I don't want that. We actually had, I mean, I grew up with all kinds of folks. Mm-hmm. And I never cared. I mean, I taught in Mississippi, right? I taught in Mississippi in George Washington Carver Junior High School. And this was right after the civil rights era. Mm-hmm. So it was 1972, 73 that I was down there. I was there for 3 years teaching in a middle school, well, it was a junior high school. But I saw less racial division there and in the streets than I do now. I think we're going the wrong direction. Okay.
Anything else that you want to say on this before we move on to another topic?
No.
Okay, let's move on. So
let me just sum it up.
Sure.
There. I do not want a world, I do not want an America where we say a person's skin color determines who they are as an individual. I want every person to benefit from the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which said that each person is an individual and must be treated as an individual, right? So when our kids go to school, I want them to be treated as individuals, not members of a group, but as an individual, and that teachers will teach them academics that allow them to maximize their potential. Right? Mm-hmm. Academic rigor. How do we get kids to have really good adult lives? Not how do we make them feel guilty about something that happened a century ago, but how do we get them to be prepared and ready for adult life, for a successful adult life? Okay. That's what I want.
All right. So you are not a native Rhode Islander. You were born in Ohio, is that correct? You did attend Rhode Island College, though.
I did.
And it sounds like you have traveled to many states. Is that because your husband was in the military?
My husband was in the Navy.
So give us a little background. Tell our audience a little bit about you and how you ended up here.
Okay, so I was born in Ohio, mm-hmm. In a little rural town of 2,000 people. I went to Kent State University. So I was there in 1970 when we had the riots from the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
I'm a piece of history. Mm-hmm. It's funny because I taught at Cranston West, and I knew every spring when they were covering the Vietnam War because the kids would come down and look in my classroom, and I'd say, "Yep, I was there." Right?
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So yeah, you're a little part of history.
I'm a little part of history there. I got married. We
What
moved.
were you teaching at Cranston West?
How long was it? 10 years.
10 years, and you're teaching?
Special education.
Special ed, okay.
Yeah. So after I graduated, I got married. We lived in Meridian, Mississippi first. There's a Naval Air Station there. And I taught at George Washington Carver Junior High School for 3 years. I did have special education students, a self-contained classroom. They were wonderful kids. It was a great 3 years. Then we moved to Jacksonville, Cecil Field in Jacksonville. We were there for about 2 years, and then up here to the War College. And that's when we got out of the Navy.
Oh, wow. So you've been in Rhode Island for how long now?
44 years.
So it's home,
a long
for sure.
time.
Yeah. And when did you first run for public office?
In 2010. I was
Okay.
elected in 2010.
Yeah, and what drove-
And this is my sixth term.
Sixth term. Okay, so what drove you to run for office? What inspired you?
Politics really affects a lot of people's lives if you think about it. How much we pay in taxes, how much we keep from our paycheck, what kind of regulations, mandates, how we build our houses, what kind of cars we drive, what kind of appliances we're allowed to buy, all these things. Politics lays over all of it. And so there is nothing that is, I think, more significant
So do you mean
than
rules
being
and
involved.
regulations? Do you mean like rules and regulations?
Yeah, an awful lot of that stuff, the laws that we follow. Just think about it. Government is kind of politicians set the structure in place for everything that happens in our society. So the things that I do down in the State House, they affect 1 million people. I can't think of another job that I would have where I could affect 1 million people. And of course, I want to affect them positively. All right, I'm a Republican, and I'm a fiscal conservative.
Have you always been a Republican?
Yes, I have been.
Okay.
When I look at what that means, a fiscal conservative, it means that I want to give government only as much as they absolutely need, because I think you and all the people who live in my district and all the people who live in Rhode Island who work very hard for their money, they should keep as much of it for themselves as possible. They can spend it better than government can. I mean, we need a certain amount to repair our roads and, run government, but everything that they don't absolutely need should stay with the people who earn it.
Yeah, how do we make a determination as to what is needed? Like as far as the roads go and whatnot. So how do we get that number?
Well, yeah. I mean, we get that number by the number of potholes, I suppose, that we go through, right? And whether our bridges are falling down. So we know what that number is. We know what the number to repair our bridges. One of the things that upsets me about Rhode Island is if we take our maintenance costs per mile, they are the highest in New England.
Right, so again, how do we get those numbers? Do we know?
Well, that's a function of government, and that's the executive branch, not the legislative branch.
Okay.
But that's where the executive branch has to pay attention and not let wasteful practices proliferate throughout government. Just recently, our Republican caucus proposed having an inspector general. And an inspector general is about looking for waste, fraud, and abuse, and just bad practices in government. We've been proposing this now for as long as I've been there, I guess since 2010. And it's not because we're negative on Rhode Island, it's because government has this tendency to grow and to waste and not to pay attention to the money. Well, we need them to start paying attention to the money.
Can you speak of a specific instance recently where you saw that?
I absolutely can.
Okay.
So you're aware of the Viaduct. The Viaduct is that section of 95, north and south, that runs right by the Providence Place Mall.
Okay.
Right, they've been working on it for 5 years, 6 years at this point, maybe a little bit longer. So I did a study of that back in 2017. I actually investigated it. And I found that DOT had put out an RFP for $1 million. An
RFP?
A request for proposals to do a basic kind of grounds, look at the grounds around there. It was $1 million. Well, at $1 million, not very many people want to bid on $1 million project. So we ended up with a company called VHB, the NAS, I can't remember all of them. Henkin is the last part of it. I can't remember the middle part, but we got them. And as they were investigating the soil, they found metal particles in there. So without going back out to bid on that new project, DOT just said, well, go ahead, just do it. You're there, do it. Gave them, I don't know, $650,000.
To do what?
To look at the metal particles that were in the soil.
Okay.
That $1 million project grew in the time that I was looking at it, which was from 2008 to 2016, I guess, to $33.5 million, all on change orders.
All on what orders?
Change orders.
No, what does that mean?
In other words, instead of going out to the public and saying, we are going to construct this now, and we need engineering based upon this, they just said, oh, you do it. How much do you want? And they just gave it to them. So the taxpayers never benefited from competitive bid. And in the original $1 million contract, they didn't benefit from the thought that this contract was going to be $33 million eventually. So fewer firms bid on it, right? How do we know that wasn't a wink and a nod? Just bid low on this one. We'll give it to you. We'll take care of you. We don't know, and I'm not suggesting it is, but that's what an inspector general would do.
Okay.
They would say, whoa, 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 whoa. You've got to go out to bid on this. It's a whole new project. It's not $1 million project anymore. You've added and added and added. So an inspector general would flag that and say, that is an unacceptable business practice. The taxpayers are not benefiting from the idea that you go out to competitive bid. It just so happens that's the same engineering company now that's working on the Washington Bridge, and that in July said that everything was fine with the Washington Bridge, and then a few months later said, whoa, we got to close the bridge. Maybe we also didn't get the best engineering company.
So why don't we have an inspector general?
Because an inspector general can go anywhere he wants to go and look at anything he wants to look at. And maybe that would be embarrassing.
For the state? Okay, so, but again, how do, if
Inspector General goes in and he says, whoa, you've got wasteful practices here, and I see fraud there, and I see, you know, unacceptable business practices going on here, then they've got to change them. Well, maybe they like them the way they are.
Well, what could the people do? What can your constituents do?
Well, I think they can, Republicans are the ones who are putting in these bills, but they are supported by another 22 Democrats. Well, help us get more. Right, so we had, 28 people now who are in favor of an inspector general. We need 50.
Okay.
So call your rep. Tell them you want an inspector general.
Okay. What other advice can you give our audience? So I want to be mindful of the time, or conscientious of the time, because we probably have about 12 minutes or so. So I want to be able to hit all the points that are important to you. So, yeah, what else can the people of Rhode Island do to make changes?
To make changes.
Yeah, so you said call your rep.
You know, and that's something people often say, well, you know, I'm just a little guy in my house. How do I make change? How do I get anything done? Well, you talk to your neighbors. You tell them, do you know this is going on? You can write emails. You can call. I would suggest you write emails and call to your rep or your senator, not to everybody. Because if they're not in your district, a lot of reps will just ignore you.
Okay.
And the Senate president and the speaker and the governor.
Okay.
Those 5.
All right.
Write an email, call. And when you see something that you like, a piece of legislation that you like, let them know you like it.
Okay.
Let your rep or the person who put it in say, this is a good piece of legislation. How can I help you get it passed?
Okay. What else do you want to talk about tonight?
Well, my race for the U.S. Senate.
Of course.
All right. I'm running because I think our country's in trouble. I really think that the Democrats have pursued an agenda that is just disaster for our country. They have spent us into a $34 trillion debt at this point. And I know that there was debt before President Biden came in, but the debt has grown 3 times faster.
Do you know what the debt was when he entered office?
27
trillion. And
it
now
is now 34.
Okay.
So it is growing very, very fast. And when government is pouring all of that money, they got to take it from someone, right? So they take it from companies. Who do you think gives companies money? We do. We're the consumers, right? So what do companies have to do? They're paying higher taxes. They have to raise the cost of their products. So at the end, it's always us that pay, right? The little guys. I'm going to call us the little guys. So we've got to get government to stop spending so much. And it's not only that. I mean, So not only would they maybe be taxing companies more, but what about some of the programs that are available to the public? Are they then funding those less? No, nothing's being funded less.
Okay.
But you understand there's just not.
But we talked about.
The government isn't bringing in the money that they're spending. They are just printing money and giving it out. And there's nothing of substance.
But what about reimbursement to doctors and other practitioners?
What about it?
Medicare and Medicaid, the reimbursement rate being reduced? Expand on that.
Yeah, that's an awful lot. That's a big one to go into. But
I
this
guess
is
my
it.
point just being.
This is it.
Yeah.
I think we have to decide what our priorities as a country are. What's our priorities?
Okay.
And if it's not a priority, we have to stop spending money on it.
Okay.
So, Medicare, priority. Social Security, priority. Medicaid, priority. The military, priority. Name more. Our schools, priority. Our highways. We know what we have to do, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that we spend money on that's really not a priority. I look at the climate agenda. The first thing that President Biden did was shut down the production of oil and gas. Well, we're all still driving around in gas cars, right? Our buses are run with diesel. Our trucks run with diesel. There's not a good substitute for them yet, and yet we've made it more expensive, right? More expensive for people to buy and to drive.
Are you saying it's shut down in this country?
Say it again?
You're saying it's shut down in this country? Production is shut down in this country?
He's done a lot to strangle it. He really has. And everybody says, well, we're pumping more oil and gas than we did prior to the pandemic. And that is because of the wells that were drilled before the pandemic. Fewer wells are being drilled now. Okay. And there's going to be less in a few years because we haven't been developing new wells.
And so where are we getting our fuel from now?
Well, we're bringing some in from overseas. Prior to this, we were actually energy independent. We actually were producing all the oil and gas that we needed. And now we're getting it from our enemies. So we're getting it from Iran and Venezuela and Russia. It's foolhardy. It's foolhardy. It not only weakens us at home, but it weakens us, our foreign policy, our national security. So, I mean, There are some solutions that we can get. The new generation of nuclear reactors are smaller, not dangerous, right? They don't melt down anymore. They've really kind of figured out how to keep that danger away. They are built underground so that they are not susceptible to being bombed from overhead. So there's a new generation of nuclear reactor. You know, New England used to have 9 nuclear reactors. We're down to 2. And the 2 that are left, one of them is in Connecticut. It supplies 40% of the power in Connecticut.
Oh, wow. And where's the other one?
It's in New Hampshire, I believe.
Okay.
All right, but we have 7 sites that would be ready to go, and imagine the amount of electricity we could get from those. Meanwhile, we don't have to clear cut all of these woods. Has anybody driven down 95 South recently? You start in Exeter and there are miles of woods that have just been clear cut, and now there's solar panels there. That's the natural environment that we're destroying. To me, that's not good, right? And the offshore wind, there is real evidence that it is killing mammals, marine mammals, especially whales, but porpoises, seals, all those kinds of creatures out there. This is not good. And we don't have to do it. We don't have to do it.
Okay. You know what?
And it's expensive.
Only what?
It's expensive.
Oh, it is, yeah.
You know, our electric bills went up 45% last winter and another 25% this winter. And that is only going to get worse because all of those renewable energy sources, the electricity we get from them, are very expensive.
Yeah.
They are 3 to 7 times more expensive than just using natural gas, which is a very clean source of energy.
We're down to the wire, and I'd like to have you back because there's so much more to talk about. But what I'd like to share with the audience is you've traveled to overseas to places like the Ukraine and Turkey and Jordan and Serbia and Thailand with the Women's Democracy Network.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell our audience about that before we sign off.
Yeah. Again, I think politics is very important to people, and a lot of people don't realize how important it is, but it is. And I became involved with the Women's Democracy Network. The very first thing they did was they sent me to Ukraine, and I observed an election over there. It was incredible. And it makes me really hurt for those people now because they were just incredibly nice people. You have no idea, just like the salt of the earth kind of folks, right? But I was also willing to go to the Middle East. So they sent me to Jordan 3 times and to Turkey twice. And I do training with women. So they will bring women in from all of the countries around the Middle East. And they're just so eager, right? These are women who get it as well as I did, that if you get involved in politics, you can change people's lives. And so they want to hear what I have, you know, I have to talk with them about. We do different kinds of workshops, but incredible women, forceful, you know, just wanting to help their countries so much. And I went to Thailand just once. It was really hot there. And oh gosh, I mean, it's 110 degrees. But Thailand and Serbia, where else? A few other places. It's all been good. And I've gotten to meet some incredible women from around the world.
Great. All right, so we are going to sign off. You want to speak to the camera and speak to our audience?
Well, listen, I hope you will follow my campaign. I'm on Twitter at @RepMorgan, and I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Patricia4, and 4 is spelled out, R-I. So follow me there. I do a lot of tweeting, and I do a lot of posts about different kinds of policies that I think you should know about. And, you know, just keep watching my campaign. I hope you'll come and help me. We can win this one. There's a path to victory.
I'm Darlene DeRezzo. Thank you for watching. Please find us on social media. We have a new Instagram account at State of the State RI.